I detest making videos like this, but there are times when you've just got to do what's got to be done. At inception, right from the early days of this channel, I knew that in order to be a credible YouTuber or vlogger or whatever you want to call it, I was going to have to tell the truth about everything right from day one. Even if that truth hurt or was in some ways distasteful. I try as much as I can to make this channel positive, but the realities of life are that it's not really a positive experience. There are a lot of downsides to life. There's a lot of downsides to motorcycling. I've bought my fair share of lemons over the years, probably wasting tens of thousands of pounds in the process. So it would be remiss of me to advocate certain products, knowing that there's a potential problem and failing to bring that problem to people's attention. After all, the purpose of this channel is to help you, the viewer. It's not just here for my benefit. Now, I'm talking about the Triumph Bonneville models, and I'm well aware that over the years my videos have been responsible for selling a lot of these motorcycles. So about a year, 11 months ago, when I first heard of gearbox problems emerging on these models, I mentioned it straight away. I brought it to your attention. Because if you're likely to purchase one of these motorcycles because I feature it in videos, that makes me partly responsible, and the right thing to do is to stand up and tell the truth. Believe me, it would be a lot easier and a lot less hassle for me to just ignore it and not mention it. No one likes to feel that they've been had. You know, if you've just spent 10,500, 11,000, 12,000 pounds on a premium motorcycle, or at least a motorcycle you were led to believe was a premium motorcycle, and some serious problems manifest themselves, you're not going to be a happy teddy. And a natural reaction, a natural way of dealing with this for a lot of people is to go into a state of denial, which usually involves a process of shooting the messenger. That'll be me. Now, I've made 2 videos that have mentioned this gearbox problem, and I didn't make them as dedicated videos. They were encompassed by one of my usual channel roundups or news updates. And at that point, most of the information that I'd received about this gearbox issue was either from emails or was from researching forums, Facebook pages, that kind of thing. Now, that kind of channel update, those sort of videos don't get huge views, 10,000 or below views. They're aimed more at the regular viewer rather than bringing in viewers from outside the channel, if that makes any sense. So, in the greater scheme of things, not a huge amount of people had actually seen them, but among those regular viewers, there were a surprising amount of comments relating to their experiences of the gearboxes failing. Enough for me to form the opinion that what I was looking at in the comments section of these videos was just the tip of the iceberg. Now, I wrote a couple of polite emails to Triumph asking for information on this issue, asking, if they could tell me more about it, whether it was something to be concerned about or not. And I got absolutely no response. Now, it might well be that those emails were just never read, which is why I didn't get a response. But historically, this is what Triumph does. It just keeps its lips sealed when there's an issue with one of its bikes. This is what happened with the early 2016 Triumph Bonneville T120s with the leaking clocks. They kept quiet about it, and when they were pushed for information, the answer you got was, "Sorry sir, this has never happened before, you're the first person that has ever encountered this problem." It was the same with the front brake issue on the T120, an issue which caused the bike to sound like a freight train pulling up when you braked at low speed. It sounds petty, but the noise was enough to actually alarm pedestrians in the area when you applied your brakes. It wasn't funny. And the Triumph dealership's reaction to this was, "Well, sorry sir, we've never heard of this before, you're the only one it's ever happened to." And then there were the concerns over the wiring looms on the T120s and some of the other models. I remember expressing concerns to a salesman about the state of the wiring on my T120 when I took it in for its first service. He actually got very nasty about it, telling me that's just the way they are, put up with it. Wiring loom issues, which by the way later on provoked 2 Department of Transport mandatory factory recalls, because they turned out to be downright dangerous. In fact, to date, my T120 has had more Department of Transport mandatory factory recalls than every other vehicle I've ever owned from new put together. Somewhere in the region of 25 or 30 vehicles. It's also, in my experience of new vehicle ownership, had the highest number of warranty claims, some of which I'm still waiting. It's been 4 years and I got fed up of constantly ringing them. Now I know some people are going to jump onto the comments section about how long it took me to get to the main subject of this video. Whinging and whining about Triumph and warranty claims, etc, etc. But this is my provenance. This is historically recorded in my videos going back 4 years. And those videos contain hundreds of comments from other viewers who've experienced similar behaviour from Triumph when they've had a problem with the bikes. I'm not just making this up. Now, a lot of people have been asking me lately where my T120 is. They haven't seen it for a while. I do still have it, but I haven't ridden it for best part of a year, and I'll tell you why. The bike's now 4 years old and it's 2 years out of warranty, and last summer I found that engagement of gears from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 was becoming progressively more difficult. This fitted in with the description I've been given from people who'd had gearbox failures as being the early signs of an impending gearbox failure. So I took the bike off the road and it's stuck in the corner of my garage. All it is at the moment really is a very expensive paperweight. I daren't ride it because repairs, if you have to pay for a repair yourself, are extremely expensive. Now, people as they encounter this problem are still leaving comments on these videos. I'm also still receiving a steady stream of emails from people whose gearboxes have failed. And as you might expect with an issue like this, in some circumstances those gearboxes have failed in circumstances where the rider genuinely felt that their lives were in danger. I'm also still hearing stories that Triumph dealerships are stating they've never heard of this issue before. Dealerships accusing the rider of the fault, saying that they've dropped the bike or they've incorrectly adjusted the clutch, which has somehow caused the gearbox to fail. And there was one guy whose gearbox failed when he reported it to Triumph, or his Triumph dealership, on the phone. They said they knew all about it, but when he actually presented the bike to them for repair, they'd done a complete switch round and said they'd never heard of the issue before. So something is going on. Now, if your bike is in warranty, or even in some cases if your bike is just out of warranty, Triumph will stand by the bikes and repair it. However, there's no guarantee that this will be a lasting repair. It is extremely common hearing of the gearboxes failing more than once. The most extreme case I've heard is that the gearbox failed 4 times, each time repaired by Triumph and only lasting a few thousand miles before failing again. And this apparently affects all Triumph Bonneville models except the Speed Twin. Now, this weekend a PDF bulletin from Triumph was brought to my attention. And this bulletin is 10, almost 11 months old, so it's a clear indicator that Triumph were well aware of this prior to a year ago, because it brings attention to a special replacement kit for models affected by this issue, and that is a replacement kit for the selector shaft assembly. Now, so far it's been assumed that there was a problem with the selector shaft and that it just needed beefing up or modifying in some way. Read it yourself, but this text leads me to believe that the selector shaft is not the problem, but a symptom of a bigger problem with the gearbox itself. In my eyes, it's basically a bodge to try and get round a problem that they're not prepared to rectify because it'll be too costly. Now, it lists 2 sets of VIN numbers, but the wording's slightly wrong, or at least I think it's slightly wrong. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. Because obviously in the last year or so, they've redesigned the gearbox to get around this problem, and this fix is to repair the earlier gearboxes. Yet the state that this kit is applicable to VIN numbers from a certain numerical order, not up to a certain numerical order. Which, unless I've completely missed something, means that the later models are the problem and not the earlier models, when I know full well that a lot of 2016, 2017 and 2018 models have been affected by this gearbox failure. So it looks like Triumph haven't even got this bulletin correct. Who knows? But what I think it means is that if you own a model that was built in the last year, maybe a little bit longer, you should be okay. If you own an earlier model that precedes the VIN numbers shown in this PDF, the chances are that that model might be affected by a gearbox failure at some time in the future, if it hasn't already suffered a gearbox failure. Certainly my view with my T120 at the moment is that it's just a ticking time bomb. Now, mileage is no indicator as to whether a bike that precedes those stated VIN numbers is safe or not, because experiences relayed to me demonstrate that the gearbox can literally fail as you're leaving the dealership when you buy it, or it may not fail until you've done 20,000 miles or more, or anywhere in between. And if you're buying a used bike that falls below those stated VIN numbers, even if the vendor is up front and says that the gearbox has failed but it's been repaired, there's no guarantee that repair is going to last. In fact, the evidence would suggest it's unlikely that it's going to last. And as a buyer of one of these models second hand, you are going to be the one that is going to have to pay for the next repair. And it's been suggested to me that the cost of that repair could be as much as £1,000. So, to reiterate, if you're buying a brand new Triumph Bonneville model off the showroom floor, it should be fine because the gearboxes have been redesigned. If you own an older model, or you're looking at buying one second hand, check to see if the VIN number precedes those mentioned in this bulletin before making the decision to purchase. Now, the big problem with this whole problem is that there's no sort of specified mileage range during which the gearbox issue can present itself. A lot of owners of these bikes don't do huge mileage. They might only do a few hundred miles per summer. And this is why I believe that the reports that have emerged so far are only the tip of the iceberg. Because I suspect there are going to be thousands of low mileage ticking time bombs sitting in garages all over the world. Now, I haven't made this video just to piss people off, Triumph or owners of these bikes. Don't forget, I own 2 of these bikes myself with some £23,000 invested, so I'm affected as well. Several owners have expressed that they feel that this fault, when it presents itself, and it often does it without warning, is potentially dangerous, and they feel that this should be a safety recall. And I tend to agree with them. I personally don't trust Triumph to do the right thing. I mean, this has been going on for a year, maybe 18 months, and they've done nothing about it. The only authority that can force a factory recall on safety grounds is the UK Department of Transport, or the equivalent department in whatever country you live in. So I would advise that anyone who owns a model that has been affected by this fault should contact their local Department of Transport and report it, because they won't investigate it unless they receive enough reports, and they won't instigate a factory recall on safety grounds until there's been an appropriate investigation. I can't guarantee that the Department of Transport will consider it a safety issue and will put in a mandatory factory recall order, but there's certainly no likelihood of that taking place unless there have been enough recorded reports. Right, once again, thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate the time that you take to watch my videos, and by doing so, support this channel. I hope you've enjoyed this video, or at least found it useful. If you have, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can be informed whenever I upload a new video. I will of course be back on Friday. I'm just going to go and find my bulletproof vest now. So until then, if you're riding, ride safely, and I'll see you soon.